Cheating, look it up in the dictionary. Basically, it's a dishonesty or deception. And we're not deceiving ourselves or being dishonest. We know that when we're eating these junk food treats, it's out of bounds for us on Carnivore, and it's not healthy. So here's my take on it. If you want to make it a negative, maybe consider it sabotage. Why are you sabotaging yourself? Otherwise, you're just having a treat. You've been doing this your whole life, eating this way. It's not a new thing. I think what we have to do is just ignore these words and just turn it into a learning experience and quit making such a big deal about, I cheated. So you can tell I'm not a fan of the term cheating or cheating on my diet. So let's take that mistake you made eating that treat of junk food and focus on it. To me, it almost reminds me sometimes of people that went to college, they paid a lot of money, they got a college degree, and they never used it. Now, does that mean that that college degree was nothing to them? Did it cheat them? No, they learned from it. Often when we reflect back on those experiences, we learn basically about going through school, getting along with people, everything else. Now, we might not have been an accountant or whatever else you might have studied in school, but you still grew from it. You still learned a lot from it. Sometimes knowing what not to do is just as crucial or important as knowing what to do. And I think in this case, it's eating foods that make us feel like garbage. It might make some of you question if you ever want to consume this stuff again. I know I have. Now, if you have something like a cookie and it makes you feel really horrible, I don't think you need to go, oh, well, I better test cake, and I better test these candies, and I better test this milkshake. It's like, I hope you learn from the one mistake of maybe just that cupcake or that frappuccino you had. So again, learning experience. It's often only when we look back that we see this experience as part of our learning journey. And what's interesting is this cheating is so big. I looked some stuff up on the web just to see what other people say, and a lot of people are okay with it, and there's a lot of people that aren't. WebMD actually had an article about how to cheat. Now, they sprinkled in some truths that I thought were okay, but then the rest of the answers were just typical idiocy. And we have to remember, these are the same medical people that are telling you, you can't eat meat, it's bad for you. Grains are good, and sugar is okay if you have diabetes. So take that into consideration. They were saying, make it really good. Instead of having just donuts, have cheesecake. And with all these senses, make it super special and go over the top and make it on a fancy plate. I mean, this to me is just insanity. No, just avoid the junk. Like again, if you ate a cookie, made you feel bad, you don't need to test it anymore. You know junk food's not for you. Now, I'm never saying don't ever have a treat or anything else. I'm not saying that. Now, I've talked about this before. I led shark dives for quite a while. I taught scuba for 15 years. We always used to say, sharks are curious and they got no hands. You'd never see a shark going up to his buddies and going, oh, hey, man, yeah, I tried one of those things that look like a turtle. I think they call them surfers. And yeah, I kind of got a gut ache because that thing that he was floating on didn't feel good. Now, you just won't see that happening. Same thing in nature. You don't see a lion going, oh, sorry, guys, I cheated. I went over and ate a whole bunch of those mangoes that have fallen off underneath the tree, and oh, I got a really bad stomach ache. So just think about these kind of silly things before you dig into that treat. Welcome to my channel. My name is Chad. I've been doing the carnivore diet for over 3.5 years, lost over 100 pounds. But let's get into this. First, I want to talk about these sugary junk foods. Again, let's stop beating ourselves up over minor things that we do. It's not a big deal, especially looking back. And I can say that going on almost 4 years. If I look back at the stuff I did for the other 56 years, I mean, I ate junk every day all the time. Of course, if you find yourself doing this daily or weekly or some kind of consistent thing, say over the past year, like every week you mess up, I think you have to take a closer look at your habits and why this is happening. Find those triggers. And you're going to have to figure out a way to break that carb and sugar addiction. And that's something that we could probably cover in another video. If you'd like to, let me know in the comments below. Remember, this journey is about progress, not perfection. I want to say this again. This carnivore journey is about progress, not perfection. Everybody's going to have these moments of slip-ups. most everybody in the beginning is going to have something. A lot of people end up eating, I think, kind of off what they should. Still carnivore, but a lot of the junk food carnivore. Don't worry about it. Quit beating yourself up. I always say this, if you cheated on day 22 or say day 222, it's still that day. Tomorrow's still going to be day 23 or 223 for whatever day you cheated on, as you call it. I just say that day you had a treat is still the same day and tomorrow's still going to be the same day. This beating yourself up, saying, oh, I've got to reset everything, I've got to start over, I don't think needs to happen. Why are you resetting? Again, that same day you're on, the next day is going to be the same. So like that old song, you just put one foot in front of the other, and soon you'll be looking back at your carnivore journey thinking, wow, that was kind of silly of me to get so emotional and work myself up and say, oh, I failed. Oh, I did this. It's no big deal. I think also this is easier the longer you go on in this journey. Again, that first year, I say, it's a lot of mental. It's a lot of breaking those old habits and forming new ones. Now, if you end up having something, you haven't seen a friend in a year and you go out and you get a Frappuccino or something like that, or you're out at a kid's birthday party and everybody's having these cupcakes and you accidentally kind of find yourself with one in your hand and one in your belly, don't worry about it. Again, it's just a treat you had that day. Put it behind you. Keep going on. Forget about it. I think the biggest thing is we have to learn from it. My feeling is that learning from this is, do you still crave them? Probably because you had one. Why? Is the smell, the flavor just caught up in the moment? Again, start being critical on that thinking, not on yourself, on the thinking of why you ended up having this, and try to figure out a way that you can stop this. Most likely, you're not in control yet, but you'll get there. It's just going to take time. And if you do this once in a while, I mean, we're talking like if you do this every 5-6 months, that, in my opinion, is not a big deal. Don't beat yourself up over it. It truly isn't. So whether it's planned or unplanned, you're still having a treat. And you know it. Now, you might feel guilty if it's unplanned. Again, that cupcake at a birthday party, because it didn't align with your goals. And there's one thing I love in Full Metal Jacket, the movie, if you've ever seen it. When that Gomer Pyle character is standing there in his underwear and he's got a donut in his mouth and everybody else has to do push-ups around him while he's eating it. In the movie, he even says that in the one part. I can't do anything right. I need help. And I think that's true of all of us. Sometimes we need help. And that help might just be coming out to this carnivore community, looking up some other things of how people got over their addictions and what they did and what worked. It might not work for you, but it might give you an ideas to try. Sometimes it's just being firm and saying, no, thank you. I'm fine. No, thank you. I'm full. The burgers were great, though. Because you did have one of their burgers, of course, with no bun. You just got to find your path, find your journey, stick with it. And again, don't worry about it. To me, it's in these times when you're doing this, when you wake up, your joints are, I've been here before, your joints are sore, you ate something junky. That's when you learn, oh, I'm never going to do that again, like I did with coffee. Now, I just hope that each time this happens, the gaps between these junk food treats grows wider until one day it doesn't happen again. Or if it does, it's again your kid's birthday and you're going to have a couple bites of cake. Myself, I always have 2 bites of my kid's cake. I don't have a whole piece. I really don't want a piece. 2 bites is plenty for me. If my wife's having a birthday, I'll try a treat of hers, maybe fried rice, something else. And again, that's not a big deal. Quite a few people do that. And it should be a normal thing. It should not be a big deal, and you shouldn't be beating yourself up over it. That's just not normal to do that over your kid's birthday cake. I think also maybe it does keep me in check and realize, yeah, I've got no care for this stuff. I don't like the flavor, don't really like the taste. It's a fun celebration with them. It's like walking past a bakery as you look in the window and that smell rolls out. I remember I used to be that guy that would be drooling like Homer Simpson. Now I can walk by and I just flat out don't care. And I might be able to say, oh yeah, it smells like a good bakery. I remember that. And then I remember being fat and out of shape and sweating as I'd be walking down that same sidewalk. And funny enough, just the other day, my boy actually brought home some cake from a birthday. bring it home to share with a sister. I didn't even open it up to smell it, just flat out don't care anymore. I really hope you get there. Because I know in the past, I would have been another great movie, get in my belly, like that, to that cake. Or I would have looked for the piece that had the most frosting on it. How many of you remember at birthday parties wanting that corner piece of cake with the most frosting? Yeah, those days are long gone. But hey, things like the carnivore ice cream, that would be a great birthday treat. Make some up, enjoy it. Maybe again on your kid's birthday, have them have a cake. You make some carnivore ice cream. They'll probably love it. And you can have some of that carnivore ice cream and maybe a bite of their cake. Not a big deal. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's part of life. To me, it's the sabotaging yourself with a junk food. And think about maybe this carnivore treat on the side that might help you get over it, like a carnivore cheesecake. And say to yourself, I'm going to have this on my birthday, one special holiday, and maybe one other time. So it's like, say, 3 times a year, you know you're going to be allowed to do this. And then the next year, break it down to just 2 times. Just do it and enjoy it. It's not a big deal to have a treat once in a while, even if you're carnivore. You don't have to be so strict on that. I do think it's optimum if you can get away without it. This old saying, life is short. Nah, not in carnivore. It's a long life. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please hit the subscribe, like button, leave a comment, and I'd love to hear your story below, any tips below, and what you would love to hear on this channel. Stay carnivorous, my friends, and ahoy ho. And you might like this video, What It Takes to Succeed.